Matthew chapter 5 and verse 21, the Lord Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court, and anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. Truly I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. Let me try and sum up this week's portion of the Sermon on the Mount. An angry heart is a murderous heart and will exclude me from heaven. Anger is sometimes right. God gets angry. I was with someone pre-lockdown. They were describing something that had happened to them that was on the verge of destroying their life. I asked the question, what do you think God makes of this? What do you think God thinks of the person who's done this? They said, I don't know. I said, well, let me tell you, God is very angry with what that person has done. The Bible is so clear. God is angry when people do wrong and mess up other people's lives. And we get angry, and sometimes we are right to be angry. But far too often, my anger at injustice, my anger at unrighteousness, my anger at hurt caused turns into something very ugly. My anger is either unjustified or my anger oversteps the mark. My anger then becomes more to do with me than it is with any wrong that may have been committed. When do I get angry? I get angry when I've been denied something I want. Someone doesn't acknowledge me. I don't get the respect I deserve. I'm angry. Someone inconveniences me. I don't get the comfortable life I desire. I'm angry. Someone doesn't do something the way I want it done. I don't get the control over circumstances that I want. I'm angry. But Jesus tells me that an angry heart is a murderous heart and will exclude me from heaven. Why is he telling me this? So that I can, the theme of the Sermon on the Mount, so that I can be blessed, so that I can be truly blessed, so that I can be salt and light to those living with decay, those living in darkness. At one end of the spectrum, people mildly irritate me. At the other end, people do things that we find contemptible. And then if we're not careful, we start to treat people badly. We retaliate. Our behaviour goes down bank. I wonder how you do anger. Do you shout? Do you hit? Do you send sarcastic texts? Do you make caustic posts on social media? When you meet others, do you exaggerate other people's faults? Do you do your best to undermine or even trash someone's reputation? Or do you do the silent treatment? There are so many ways of sticking the knife in, aren't there? And if you are particularly angry with someone, you don't want anything to do with them. You say to that yourself, if only that person in my family, in my office, in my school, in my neighbourhood, if only that person wasn't there, I really wish they weren't there. Jesus stops us in our tracks. His exact words, you have heard it said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be liable to judgment. What motivates someone to murder? They want to get back at someone. They don't want that person in their life, in their world. You've hurt me by not showing me respect, by taking something or someone that's mine, by getting in my way, for not doing things my way. Sobering, isn't it? Just because I don't pull a knife or plant a bomb doesn't mean I don't have the same heart problem as the murderer, according to Jesus. But I tell you that to anyone who is angry with a brother or sister, they will be subject to judgment. Anyone who says, "You fool," those words, that fool, doesn't translate terribly well. The word Jesus uses is a term of abuse. Think of the worst thing you could call someone and what using that word conveys. If this is you, if this is your attitude towards anyone, there is no place for you in my heaven, says Jesus. An angry heart is a murderous heart and will exclude me from heaven. And of course we all know how to justify ourselves. Well, that's just the way I am. I've got a temper. God made me like this. Well, I might despise someone, but at least I'm civil to their face. No. When I said that, I was only joking. I didn't really mean it. It just came out. They just caught me on an off moment. But we keep reminding ourselves that it's when we are under pressure, when we are squeezed, when we are hurting, that is when the real us comes out. That is when the real unfiltered us comes out. Disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ, how big a deal is this? This is a showstopper. God says, you don't treat people I have made with contempt. I will take it personally if you do. I read something a while back. I didn't particularly like it, but I suspected that it was true, so I wrote it in my notebook. Look at your worst relationship and you will see your relationship with Jesus. The more I ponder that, the more I know it to be true. Just as if you're vile to one of my children, I will not take that well. If you are vile to someone I love, I cannot but take it personally. If you are the sort of person who treats one of my people badly, what does that tell you about your relationship with me? Jesus could well ask. This is a showstopper. And Jesus pushes this point home with two examples. Example number one, you're on your way to worship. You realise someone has got something against you. This feels the wrong way round. Someone has got something against you. But no, it's when someone has got something against you that the real you comes out. You seethe, you tell others, you get them back. Or even worse, you resolve to have nothing to do with them. You want them out of your life, just as a murderer wants someone out of their life. You need to sort it, says Jesus. Don't think things are okay with you and God if you're seething about someone else. Look at your worst relationship and you will see your relationship with Jesus. Example number 2 from Jesus. Imagine you've wronged someone. For example, you owe them money. They take you to court. What do? You get it sorted. You do a deal. If you're in the wrong, you don't let it go to court. This is urgent, says Jesus. Now, of course, much more can be said about this. I found with anger, I need to talk it through with someone else. Please come and talk to me. You will say nothing that will shock me. You will say nothing that will make me think any the less of you. Come and talk to me, because there are always wider questions. How do I react in a godly way when that person has sinned against me or sinned against others terribly? And what if someone refuses to accept they've done anything wrong? But Jesus' underlying point, an angry heart is a murderous heart and will exclude me from heaven. But here's the good news. Here's the wonderful news. Jesus came to rescue and save and transform people who are getting it wrong. Isn't that the message of the Sermon on the Mount? Aren't you so glad that we spent much time a few weeks ago on those initial verses? Blessed are the spiritually poor. Blessed are those who haven't got it together. Blessed are those who mourn when they see that what comes out of them when they're squeezed. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst to be like the one who cried out from the cross, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Let me ask you some questions. Email me if you would like a copy of them. When do you get angry? Under what circumstances? What does your anger look like? Why? What is it that you value so much that you're prepared to defy God and treat people badly because of? What is the consequence of your anger for you and for others? And God, what does He in the Bible say to you? And how are you going to respond to Him? What will you say back to Him? And now, how will you respond constructively to the person you are angry with? And what will the consequences of that be? God's good ways not to condemn us, not to crush us. No, God's good ways to bless us. God's good ways to enable us to be a mammoth blessing to others. I'm so not living His way, but I so long to live His way. The gospel is that we can return to Jesus and we can put Him in charge. We cry to the Father, take away my murderous heart, replace it with a heart of compassion and mercy. Make me like the King. And that prayer He promises to hear. How blessed are my people, says Jesus.